Welcome back to Crescent City. Dianna Russini, the Athletic Senior NFL Insider. She's been here since Sunday. Whew. I don't even know what happens after about the fourth day in New Orleans.
It's much like Vegas. 24 hours. Get in, get out. Someone needs to get me out of the city because I am having way too much fun. It has been a spectacular week. What a host city. The food, the people, the logistics. Yeah. I hate to bring logistics up. That's boring. But when they're smooth and the travel's easy and you can get around, it just makes the whole experience fantastic. And it puts everybody in a good mood. All the interviews over at Radio Row where all the stars are, everyone's talking and happy. So things are great here in New Orleans.
Pull that mic up just a little closer.
Sure.
Control that. Look at you're a podcast rising star here.
Learning the ways.
Okay, so I want to talk about this because Philadelphia Eagle fans are saying, we invented it. No, you didn't. You're punishing us. No, we're not. The NBA with Hack-a-Shaq and baseball with a defensive shift said, listen, it's bad television. It's repetitive. This is a league that moved off the kickoff. And so I really do think that there's a tipping point for everything. And that Washington moment, Dianna, where it looked like dangerous and the league almost rewarded Philly with an automatic touchdown, I think that was a tipping point. What are you hearing by the committee? Will they change it?
Well, I think there's definitely momentum. I just have a hard time believing they will actually ban it. Last year, there were a lot of conversations happening on the competition committee. And I was told that Roger Goodell actually is the one he doesn't love it. It's not one of his favorite plays. And, he never outwardly said anything to the competition committee like, I want this banned. But the people in the room were reading it. And they're like, when the commissioner doesn't like something, usually everyone likes to abide. They decided last year, though, we're going to stick with this. Let's give it another year. And they'll go back to the drawing table here in the competition committee. We'll discuss it again. I just don't think there's a good enough argument right now that they can make for them to ban it. The fact that the Philadelphia Eagles have been able to master it and the Buffalo Bills weren't able to do it isn't the reason for them to get rid of it. So
he may not be Lawrence Taylor or Reggie White or Aaron Donald. But I do think Myles Garrett is a once-in-a-franchise player, that the Cleveland Browns will never have a defensive player that good. He is now available to the market. And I said this yesterday, Dianna, Buffalo and Green Bay are very well run, but they do not attract free agents. So Buffalo clearly is not beating. They can't stop Patrick Mahomes. With McDermott, they can't stop him. It's 35 points. Green Bay doesn't have Philadelphia's roster or the ability to attract free agents. To me, the Packers and Buffalo feel like it's a go-for-it moment. Am I nuts?
Mm-hmm. No, you're not nuts at all. Is Cleveland going to do it? They do not want to move him. Look, I was told that this thing could get messy, right? And the reason why it can get messy, because you got two sides on very opposite sides of what they want to do. I just spoke with an NFL agent, a high-powered one, and he said to me, while I was walking over here, he said, this is about guaranteed money, right? This is all contract. This is just a play for Myles to get more money. I said, absolutely not. This is the one case where the player truly wants to go to a team where he can go win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So at some point here, both sides, they're going to have to come to a decision because Myles Garrett is not going to step on that field unless he's going to get shipped out of Cleveland. So I don't know how this thing ends. I can just tell you that teams around the league are calling, they're trying, they're discussing, and they want to get their business in order before the start of the new league year in March.
Yes.
So they can make decisions on how they're going to spend their money in free agency, how they're going to draft. So I think this thing is going to actually pick up over the next few weeks as we know that teams are going to want some answers here.
Yeah, I mean, when you go back to the Reggie White or the Charles Woodson moments, like free agency can be a bit of a sucker's bet, so can trades. No, this is a guy that can change a really good team like Buffalo into a team that can beat Mahomes. To me, this is you get this about every fourth year in the league, every fifth year. Like, okay, let's talk Saquon. You were the first person to interview Saquon when he went to the Eagles. And I remember when it happened, I said, this guy's good with the Giants O-line. This is a crazy move. Do you remember the first interview with him, and you had it? Do you think he's surprised by how well it's gone?
No. I don't, because the first thing he said to me about joining Philadelphia, he said when he was sitting in that room for the first time and he was looking around at the talent, he had never been around a team with that much talent. He's like, everywhere I looked, there were just studs, all pros.
Penn State had a bad O-line. He never had a great O-line.
He had this to him is something he has never experienced. So look, you look at the roster, and this is a roster Howie Roseman built to win championships, okay? That is exactly the mindset that this Eagles team, when they were constructing it in the offseason, and that's the way Howie has looked at it this entire time, which is why all season I knew there was going to be pressure on Nick Sirianni, no matter what they were saying, because they knew that they needed to be playing here in New Orleans this Sunday. And look, they're here. And Saquon is the reason for that. And, you know, one of my other takeaways when I was sitting with him, at this point, Hard Knocks had already aired, so he got to see the behind the scenes on how Joe Schoen dealt him and how they came to that decision and how much owner John Mara did not want that to happen.
Right.
We've seen it over and over. It's almost torturous at this point. And, you know, I still felt in that moment, and this was right before training camp, he was still hurt by the Giants.
Sure.
Even though he knew he was playing on a better team, I think he was still stunned that they didn't think he was good enough for him to stay there. And while we know that's not the true reason, they believed in his talent, they just didn't believe his worth financially.
Right.
And they knew they didn't have the offensive line for him. That's the Joe Schoen side to this whole thing. But to him, I think it took a minute for him to adjust to going, look, this team didn't want me, but this new team is going to take me to an experience that I've dreamt of. And now here he is just 1 year later.
So, you know, we're very sensitive. When our high school girlfriends dump us, we don't forget it. He was dumped. Nobody wants to be dumped.
He was dumped. And for the Giants, the new girlfriend is smoking high. Like, that's the hardest part about this, as they have to watch this.
Okay, so you were at the NFL Honors last night. It's not a great college quarterback draft class.
No.
Sam Darnold, until the end, had a remarkable year. Kevin O'Connell gets Coach of the Year. Don't have a problem with that. He was terrific. Little bumpy at the end. That's life. I didn't think he had a great roster. I thought he really overachieved all year. It is weird. Daniel Jones, J.J. McCarthy, Sam Darnold. What are they going to do?
Well, the one detail you forgot is he got a new contract, right? They just extended Kevin O'Connell as well, which is right. It's always part of it, right? Because now he's got the security. He always had the belief from ownership.
Right.
But there was definitely some whispers about teams poking around, possibly wanting to bring Kevin O'Connell to their program. Minnesota was never going to entertain any of that. But that being said, the quarterback position, he's got so much confidence in what JJ can do. And this was even going back to training camp before he was injured. I think if JJ stayed healthy, he was going to have a shot to start. Right. So now here he's going to come off this injury. Kevin shared that, you know, he's doing well. He's ahead of schedule a bit. I think they have enough confidence in their coaching ability, in their staff, and even their defensive staff, that they can pretty much make this work with who they've got on this roster. Do I think they want Sam? Absolutely. They are not going to spend a lot of money, though, keeping Sam there. Yeah. They could always tag him and trade him.
But that's like 40-something million a year.
It's 40-something million, but you're also taking a risk, right? Because then if you can't trade him, if they want to tag and trade, then they're stuck and they're on the hook for $42 million a year. Right. They don't want to do that. So, look, if you were to ask me if I had a guess what happens, I think Sam Darnold hits free agency and makes good money, and they move on and they try to find a way to make this work with Daniel Jones and J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah, I think Darnold will get a Baker Mayfield contract. Yep. He deserves it. Same draft class. So, I said this. We're not going to look 20 years from now and say, you know, do you remember the year they gifted Josh Allen the MVP? But Lamar beat him in the regular season head-to-head and played much better. Lamar had a better passer rating. Lamar had better stats. But I do think, like I used Martin Scorsese, Goodfellas, the better movie. They gave him the Oscars for The Departed because it was like body of work. It's a good movie. Josh had a good year. He'd had more profound years. But I do think there was a feeling like it was time. Any animosity from the Lamar fans? I mean, what was the vibe?
Well, I'm a voter, so I had an opportunity to place my vote. And I went back and forth on this for weeks, and called GMs, head coaches. I called players. A lot of players' answers, which surprised me, was Saquon. I got a lot of Saquon answers.
I get it.
But I was laying out all the reasons why I was going to go with who I went with, which was Lamar Jackson. I went with Lamar, and the way I viewed it, it was essentially, I looked at the pieces around him, right? And you could make an argument that Buffalo had less on offense. But what Buffalo had better than Baltimore was a defense, right? And the times that the defense let Lamar down in Baltimore, he's the one who raised the level and got them wins. And to me, that deserved my MVP vote. On top of the fact I voted for him last year, and he was even better this last season.
He was.
So I definitely think there was a feeling of it's time. We've seen Lamar do this before. It's time for Lamar to get, for Josh Allen to get his opportunity. But I don't think that there was any animosity. I just think people were very divisive about it. I think some people were just set that it's going to be Josh Allen. Some people were going to be set on Lamar. And you saw in the voting, it was so close.
Yeah.
But in the end, I feel really good that I voted for Lamar. I think it was the right one.
Okay, Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll moved on. Sean Payton moved on. Jay Glazer came out and said, Mike Tomlin's going to move on. Yeah. What are you hearing?
Yeah, I'm hearing the same thing. Those conversations they started to happen at the end of their season. They decided, all right, we're going to probably most likely stick with Justin Fields here moving forward. Just knowing that for Russell Wilson, I don't think it was the perfect fit. I think it was a great move by Mike Tomlin and the Steelers organization to take a chance on him, see what we got.
He was free.
And then we saw so much success out of it, and there were blips of it. But I think in the end, with who they want to be and the identity, all the reasons that we thought it was strange almost came to light now. Like the reasons why we were giving them a hard time initially of why would they bring Russ on? Or why, they're going to start Russell Wilson. Remember, we were all confused by that. It was Justin Fields has got this talent. They can do so much more with him. He's so much more mobile. In the end, though, I think that all came back, and now this is going to be a clean slate for them as they make a decision moving forward. But I think Justin Fields is going to be one that they keep on this roster.
I also think keep your eye on Pittsburgh in the second, third round. Riley Leonard, a little like Justin Fields, athletic, big, nice arm, young. I think Pittsburgh's in the market to draft a quarterback. It's not a great quarterback year. But in the second, third round, you may get a little value in Riley Leonard.
I think we're going to see some really interesting decisions, knowing that it's a quarterback week draft.
Dianna Russini, always fun. The Athletic from the Crescent City.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from the herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.